I'm all right. I believe we're live. What's up, guys?
Not
What?
much.
All right. So we wanted to jump on live here and talk about business. And the reason my hands are up like this is because I can't talk without using them. And so everybody
Okay,
wants to
Ricky
make fun of
Bobby.
that. Well, hang on. Okay. Now no, we want to talk about business. Mike and I'm sure Chris gets the calls as well. I know I do. Detailers at different times in their business, seasonality. I'm slow right now. I'm busy right now. What do I do? What do I do to prepare for the slow time? And I felt like a conversation between us three about how to prepare for things like that. What are the things that you want to do to help minimize the slow time? When I'm talking about our business and detailing specifically, I am looking to kind of flatten that curve and take some of those highs and lows out. And we could just sit here and bullshit too. I'm cool with that.
Oh, no, it's fine. I'm just smiling at Mike literally putting on his wrestler mask.
I've done my portion of this. Y'all go ahead.
Ceramic coating company and still puts on a wrestling vinyl mask that probably smells like who knows what after X amount of years.
Oh my gosh. What is wrong with y'all? What is wrong with y'all?
What you're saying, what's
we try to
times.
Yeah, we just try to level it off. We try not to. I mean, obviously, boating season coming in, the income increases, but we're just always trying to look to bring the slow times up and just try to get it flat across there. It's easier to budget that way. It's easy to manage cash. It's easy to staff. But when you're dealing with these peaks and valleys, it's really tough. And as an entrepreneur, you carry the weight of that. And so there's things I know, Chris, you and I have talked about numerous times about marketing and how to making sure that you're doing the things when you're busy to help reduce the slow time. And
this last couple of weeks, I've had a lot of people question like, "Hey, I'm slow. I don't know what to do. How do I sell a coating?" Whatever it may be, and that's why I think having Chris here too is important because I was never a believer of marketing, and Chris knows very well. Him and I have had a lot of conversations. I don't know anything about websites or the SEOs or anything like that, but everybody I talk to, I always tell them two things: it's CRM and websites. And when they, first thing everybody thinks is, I can't afford a website. I've heard that like 5-6 times this last week. And I'm like, you can't afford not to have a good website is the way you have to look at it. Like if you want the business, you have to have certain things in your business just to kind of generate that traffic.
Yeah, it's like having a store with no windows. I mean, how do you know what you sell inside or no door? Like that's the window to the world,
Dude, nobody's going to go on your Facebook and hope to figure out your packages. Nope. It's still amazing to me that people don't, even if it's not a website from us, get something up for good God's sakes, Yeah, I mean,
well, yeah, that's the truth, and it professionalizes and validates you, and it's like the thing where someone can go learn about you without having to get on the phone for an hour-long conversation, and even then, so they can scroll at their leisure and learn about your business, see what what you look like, and that's how people gauge on if they're going to buy from you or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, kind of coming back to your first question, even prior website is like. If you're saying I'm slow, which I definitely see two camps of people like right now in this weird process. I see people who are not struggling and like cruise control. And then I see flippers. They're flipping out.
That's right.
What's going on? I was hot 2 weeks ago. I was not hot now. I always come down to like marketing as like habits. Like, what's habitual about your business? Technically, a website is habitual because it's habitually up. It's habitually always staying online. It's trying to receive kind of acts as a funnel. But usually if somebody's flipping out now, and let's say they flipped out again 3 months ago or last year, immediately in my head, I go, what are you doing to proactively, that's a real thing, proactively change your business so that you're not having these massive flows? You'll always have rises and valleys. For sure, 100%. But how can you mitigate some of this stuff? And there's basically, I always go back to it as like, where Mike is in business and other guys who are extremely established in business is like, what foundational thing can you do today besides a website that might pillar out some of that stuff. And I'm always still surprised today. And I want people to kind of think about this, because you have really two guys. You have established and you have new, right? And the new is under 3 years old. They might be occasionally. And then you got guys that are extremely established that the referral train just is never going to stop. They've been there for 15, 20 years.
Right.
So how do you go from 3 year to that referral train? And I am always something that people could do today. It costs them almost nothing to do. You don't have to call me. You don't got to call a marketing company. I'm just always surprised that over a couple of years, let's say you've got a couple hundred customers in the pipe, how many of them have you actually reached out to on a monthly basis?
Yep.
Habitually, right? I'm saying habit again. How many we have scheduled a newsletter? It doesn't have to be an offer of ceramic coating offer. It could just be like, we worked on a Tesla this month. This is what, here's the hot thing. Here's the thing we're seeing on how to clean wheels. You'd be surprised just touching someone once a month is a fucking crazy thing. Excuse my language. But, I always think of like my landscape guy, the guy who does at the commercial office, he does the sprinkler heads here. I never hear from my roofer. I never hear from my electrician. I never hear from my plumber. You know who's always reaching out to me every month, and especially in the spring when he wants to start like crazy, he's just hitting me up, email. The December, not even in service in December. He's just like, this is how we winterize. And I can't stop thinking about that guy. And how do you become that guy who just constantly is habitually in your email inbox? Like, hey, I'm just here, dude, when you're ready. And it keeps you top of mind. That costs nothing.
It does. And you think about, these are customers that you've already done business with. So you've already they already will pay your price. They already understand your operation. You don't have to pay to market to them. You've already sold them. Now it's just communication after the fact. And retention is so much easier than acquisition.
Oh, yeah.
Keeping these customers coming back. And it's not always asking for the sale. You don't wait till you need cars in the shop today to reach out to your 100 or 1,000 or 2,000 customers and say, I need business today. You can do that, but ideally you're sending something out on a bi-monthly or monthly schedule that's keeping them aware that you're in business and that you're there. Tips and tricks, things going on. Even, like a picture of the shop. Like, there's such easy things you can do
to the shop, stuff like that.
Yeah. Like, it's so easy, and we're not asking for the sell. We're simply nudging that customer saying, hey, we're still here whenever you need us. And that is cheap. That is it's almost free, depending on what tool you use. And you use your personal cell phone if you can figure out, a way to do it consistently. And I think some of the thing is the power and consistency. Don't wait till you have to have it to do it. You got to start now preparing and doing these things consistently to help mitigate those slow times or slow, increase sales.
Chris, do you think that, I don't know, like the people that you're talking to, a lot of them that are slow are just some individuals that have kind of forgot about the fundamentals of detailing in general? And what I mean by that is services. I've noticed that a lot of people have gotten away from detailing now they just want to do ceramic coatings, or they just want And when we get into different times of year, it's kind of like, well, when people are struggling, they're not paying for a $2,000 ceramic coating. They might pay for a $500 detail.
Yeah. So here's the reality is that ceramic coating in the past couple of years has seen from 3 years ago to today has seen on average around 250 to 300% increase in coating installers. The search volume has flatlined and in some areas dropped. So hold on. Now you go from, I was the only guy in town. Now there's 3 guys in town, and the same volume of people or less are searching. So right off the bat, to Mike's point, is like the biggest accounts that we have that do SEO and spend tons of money and do a lot of marketing, the largest 7-figure, businesses still offer interior details, still offer exterior details. I'm kind of always surprised by the guys that are like, I won't do this. I get it. The interior detailing is considered a step down in their mind, or an exterior detail or a wash, a step down. But the amount of people that you don't get to talk to now because you're not willing to talk to anyone less than $800.
Mm-hmm.
You've really lopped your amount of people that you can talk to. The amount of people that search detailing is around 75 searchers per 100. The amount of people that search ceramic coating is 12. So you have 8 times the amount of people you could talk to on a detail. Now, I get it. It's not a glorious thing to be doing, but you still, you guys have talked about it times. You can make money on it. You're just choosing not to make it a problem.
Not to mention, and when you say you're not offering that service, that customer that's willing to pay for it's going somewhere else. When they go and they don't want to have to go to 4 different shops, I'll get my car coated over here. I'm going to get an interior over here, get it maintained over here. That's not happening. When you send that customer to someone else, that customer's staying with them. And that's just the way it is. So, to completely just eliminate that. I get it. It's not the glamorous job. Minivans, vacuum and minivan carpet, it's not fun and it's not glamorous. But if it pays the bills, if you're saying I'm not doing this, but I'm slow, like you have a pride problem, not a business problem.
Yeah. I mean, why could you not price an interior at $299, $399, have, a kid come in for less than $150 a day and you're more than profitable. You're at a 4 times ROI. And now you talk to that. Imagine talking to additional 15 people who are in your store. Oh, have you ever considered looking at a PPF? Because they'll remember that on the next car or their
absolutely
or ceramic coating or tint is just.
And where we find it at our shop is when Mr. Jones comes and picks up and he wanted the traditional wax, and we can talk to him now about the benefits of a ceramic coating versus a wax that is gone in 2 months. And now you have to come back and we put a ceramic coating on and for X amount. That's where we gain our attraction, is through our details. And that's why I get it too. Like, people do what is best for their businesses, but I feel, especially where I live, most of my stuff, my ceramics, come from details that were performed at one point.
Yeah, if you turn that down, you would never have that conversation. And so how many conversations are you missing because you're waiting on the weld to come in the door and spend the $3,000 on a coating or $5,000 on PPF, whatever that is,
Yeah. I mean, Grant Menard always talks about this, and he's supposedly having a kid this week. So best of luck to him.
Supposedly.
But I mean, he talks about all the time of where somebody comes in for $199 detail and then they're being upsold into a PPF or a $10,000 coating, and like, oh, did you really want this? That's not every single time, but it's just all about habits again. I come back to that one more again of, is it habitual that you're talking to someone and upselling? You get into a habit then of bringing in interior details or exterior details, and you get into a habit of, like, when that is coming through 3/4, I'm going to touch base with them, see if they're interested, give them a tour of the shop. Maybe you create another habit into upselling, and you'd be surprised how profitable you can get through habits.
And track it, create a spreadsheet, something simple where you can see how much you're upselling. That's where the reward is. Like, to do a thing, it's easy to say, well, you should just do this thing. And, oh, it didn't work. It did work. But how do you really know? And if you track it, like, one of our KPIs are upsells in our spreadsheet, and our sales team tracks, here's what the base, the price the vehicle was scheduled for. And we treat an upsell as, once it gets to our shop, what do we sell on top of that? So that number is added, and we watch that and monitor it to see how much we're doing. And, these things, without tracking them, you don't ever really know how you're doing. And it doesn't have to be complex. You put it on a notebook for all that. I mean, for what that's worth,
Yeah, just even a simple Excel sheet of, came in for this, what was upsold, nothing at all, Yeah. I'll say this is, like, oil change businesses lived off of this.
Yes.
For years, and still do. You come in for $19.95. I noticed your brakes. I noticed your tires are like, that's how oil change businesses have lived on. They do not stay in business for $19.95.
Yeah.
It will teach you sales like you wouldn't believe too, because if you can master an upsell, you are a master on the phone as well. It'll just rotate through.
Let's talk about the person that's watching this, that's slow. doesn't have a CRM, doesn't have software. They're like, okay, well, this none of this helps me. I can't go pay money for a CRM. I can't go pay money for anything to solve my problem. I need to solve it now. Like, what would you tell that guy or girl, the detailer, that would help them today? This habit of reaching out. I mean, you're going to have to physically make a list and text your customers.
Yeah, I think I would. I mean, people's natural inclination is to pay to solve, right? Like, I'm slow, buy ads. I'm slow, call, do this, do this. For me, if you wanted a true no cost scenario, like, what can I do? Today's the day I had someone cancel. I know 10 people you can call today that, could text or email. I mean, email and to me and text and phone call is slightly going wayside to being subjective and not proactive. When the reality is like, if I had no dollars, like I couldn't, are you really going to learn Facebook ads all of a sudden or Google ads?
No,
not going to do it. But you'd be surprised going to MailChimp, which is free for up to 1,000 contacts that you can export all your emails. Fucking hit all your personal people too. You're in a small business. It's okay to talk to your friends and say, hey, this is what's going on in the shop. I would just always kind of pattern it with education, what's going on, education, and then the fifth or fourth one, offer. A lot of people try to always go into offer, and then they wonder why people are always knocking on their door down. But if I had no money today, I would literally try and find 200 emails that have contacted me, whether they're personal or not. And most people want to go on Facebook. And the problem with Facebook is, my personal opinion is, there's a high chance nobody's going to see it unless you're paying for it. Whereas, when's the last time someone proactively reached out to you and said, hey, here's what's going on in the shop. Here's a Tesla or whatever. Here's a XYZ. We did this coating last week. Don't you think this looks great? Shut up. Ask a question. You'd be surprised what comes back. You're going to get more reactions out of those emails than you will on a Facebook post that you hope somebody sees.
That's right. And thinking about it, like, someone that you always get the can't afford or don't have time to set up side of things. And in reality is, and it's cliche to say you can't afford not to, but that's the reality of it. Like, we put these tools in place to do the things to create that habitual behavior in your company that you just like. Does it make more sense for you to take a time off of laying a ceramic coating or polishing a car to sit and go through your phone and text everybody in there, or pay a software $100 a month, click select all, hit send, and there it goes? Like, what's worth more in your time? And that's one time a month. I mean, you reproduce that over and over and over, and this thing's saving and making you money, not costing you money. And this is not a software pitch, but it's common sense, that.
And I've got this doc that I can always share after this too, but exactly what you said. I don't know if you have the ability to share it.
Probably. Yeah. I'm not great at this, but I'll try. Let's see.
Techno Beaver, Dustin Jackson, and Mike.
Oh, we have comments coming in too. So, by the way, guys, what I'll do is I'll breeze through the comments.
I was
in the
just
last 5 minutes of this.
Yeah.
So, we could talk about this another day. This is who you should really be talking to and how you should be talking about yourself. That's a whole nother conversation. But here's a perfect example is like, what assets do you have today? So like, if you wanted to reach someone, do you have a website? Okay, let's pretend in Dustin's example, no website, no landing page. You don't have ads, but I bet you have photo and video. And then what could you tailor this down into, right? Do you know how to run ads? Do you know how to do search? Do you know how to do audio? No, but there's the real thing here that you could do that costs nothing. And it's these two right columns completely, which is cold outreach, networking, word of mouth, affiliate, strategic partnerships, like your local chamber of commerce. You'd be surprised how many people sleep.
Absolutely.
But these are all pieces of additional marketing you could do. Some of these you got to have some money behind, but a couple of them you really don't, right? Like social content, video, email. A lot of this is just labor at the end of the day. You know, and I always tell people is like, if you're slow now, look at this as the biggest opportunity to potentially change your habits so that when you become an established guy like Mike Carlin or whoever, or Dustin, that like, oh man, best thing I ever did when I was slow, I just started emailing people and have a newsletter on a monthly basis. Because if you start that habit when you're slow, you probably won't stop that when you're extremely successful, because it keeps the train rolling in. And that's kind of why I always talk about like, get in that habit of doing something. So if you do find out that ads work really well for you and you somehow figure out that it's a part of your business, well, I mean, if you learned it when you're slow, you're going to know it when you're super busy too, and keep that train rolling. So,
and I think on the social ad side, from what we find out, is you have to be consistent with that too. Like if you're only going to put stuff up once in a while, it doesn't do us much good. But if we're consistent, like we do, my wife does a really good job every day. She's posting something on Facebook, and it would be her interior cleaning. And then you know, we'll post some stuff on our ceramics. But if I wait a long time, and you have to be a little more creative too. But, you know, Chris and I have had that talk a lot, you know, like I do a lot through social media. I think, I don't know.
You're habitual with it, right?
Yeah,
like you're constant.
Yep.
You know where to go for that stuff.
But like the worry I have for our shop and what I'm trying to teach my son now is, as he takes over, is trying to get onto different platforms, because I think Facebook is starting to, you know, do that teeter-totter. I'm not an Instagram person. I'm not a you know, I suck at TikTok. You know, that type of stuff. I think you have to get, if that's all you're going to do, you have to get good at it, you know.
Do some dances on TikTok for us, Mike.
Let's
please don't. Let's talk about something too. If you're the one that you're saying you're slow, what are you comparing your numbers to? Are you looking and comparing it to COVID numbers, or, you know, a couple years ago where money was coming from, you know, the customer that they were getting from nowhere? So like, and they had nothing else to do. Like marine detailing shot through the roof. Like if I were to compare my numbers, we've grown since then, but we're not growing at the rate from COVID numbers that we were growing in 16, 17, 18, 19. We were doing 20 to 25% year over year.
Double digit.
Now, now from COVID, it's like we're lucky to hit 6-7% growth, but we're comparing it to unrealistic numbers or unnatural numbers in that people had money coming out of nowhere.
And there's two things that too, exactly what you said, is like money was coming out of nowhere. A lot of these guys have started businesses in 18, 19, 20 or 21.
Yes.
So you're always in a triple digit scenario. Like I made 150 grand when I made 75. Well, now I'm only making 160. Like, motherfucker, you're solo. Like that's part of the business first 3 years. You're always in that, you know, that feels great, but there is always a point. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so, and then also, like I've said it again, tracking the numbers. To say I'm slow, if you're running your business off of a gut feeling, I'm slow because my phone didn't ring today, or I'm slow because I only see what's today, you can't do that. You've got to understand historical data. You got to understand historical sales, and you need to understand what forecasting looks like. And it doesn't have to be super complex. You know, you just understand, what did we do last month? What did we do the month before that? What did we do this month last year? And now you can compare it to that. You can't compare this week to last week every week of the year and understand busy or slow. All right, this is seasonality. This business is seasonal. If you look at last year at the same time period and I'm down 40%, okay, I'm slow. Mm-hmm. But if I'm right there with it or touch over, I'm not slow. I'm doing what I've been doing. So that's, you know, understanding what data to look at, what sales to look at before you call and say, Dustin, I'm slow. What do I do? Well, first I'm going to ask you, well, what do you mean? What's your numbers?
You may have just got more efficient, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I feel like when I went through my slow season years and years ago, one of the and I don't know if this is accurate for other people, but one of the best things I ever did was actually pay myself as an employee.
Yep.
And then not treat the business as a piggy bank of like an owner's draw is big this month, an owner's draw is small this month. I paid myself as an employee when I got slow and said, here's my baseline. Here's where I'm at. And there was a point in time where like business was slow for like a hot minute there. And I couldn't pull that employee amount consistently. And that changed my habitual marketing that day on.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never, ever had to be in that situation ever again. But I think once I knew that a paycheck was not coming in steadily every time because I wasn't paying myself, you could still treat an owner's draw as a paycheck. You could pull in X dollars per week. But once you like look at your account like, oh shit, I can't pull that draw anymore, that kind of might wake you up of like, I should have probably been marketing when I was super busy, right? And that's the hard thing. Are you marketing when you're busy? Because it's going to hurt you when you're slow.
Yeah. The things that you know work when you're slow, do those when you're busy too. Like that consistency, it will fill the slow gap. Like that's the whole thing. It's not wait till I'm there to react.
It's too late.
Like Krista, it's way too late. Yeah. You know,
takes
the efforts there turn into a month later business. Yeah. And so.
Yeah. And I'll say this exactly to your point is like, I'll notice the guys that call me that are slow, which always happens in March and definitely happens in January and definitely happens in November.
Yep.
You know, there's habitual sequences that happen here. I notice if you look at 6 weeks prior, smoking busy, you know?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Killing.
No posting, no social, no Google business, no ads.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 weeks later, you know, wondering where it all went kind of thing.
I tell my team, we're always stressing on something. So what are we stressing on right now? We're busy right now. We should be stressing on the slow season. What are we worried about? We should be worried about what's going to happen in 6 months. When we're there in that slow time in those 6 months, we should be worried about the busy time. And if we're always looking forward to the next season that's coming and our efforts are spent there, not in the moment, but there, we're always preparing for the next thing that's coming. And so nothing hits us like a brick wall. There's always going to be something to stress on, but there's always going to be issues. A little bit of planning, you know, goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
We want to take our shirts off?
We have some questions.
Hey, yeah, we do. You want me to run through them? I can post them up here.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So Mike's Marine Care, I'm thinking of hiring someone. Yeah, I mean, you know, listen, the thing that I can say there is understand cash management and the impact of hiring and what that does on your cash. Don't just look at today's revenue and say, oh, I could use 2 people. Look at month over month and understand what that outflow will look like in August and September when marine business starts to decline.
And you know, I always say this too is like there's different stages of business, right? And we start off down here, and then there's the middle stage, and then there's, hey, we're up on the top. And I always found like it's a struggle to go from here to here, but the real struggle is when you're in the middle trying to be on the top. It can literally bankrupt you if you think of growing so big that it's a seasonal thing, and it's like, hey, I'm gonna grow so big that I need 12 people or something full time. Like in Mike's case, he might just need a part-time helper, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's doing a lot of both, depending on where he's at. I know he's in Michigan. We have this talk. But, you know, at that point, are you bringing on somebody as a seasonal, or are you trying to maintain that throughout the year at that point? And that's where you have to be careful, knowing your KPIs and everything is like, can I sustain that helper throughout the year? Because we got to be fair about that. Like the last thing you want to do as a business is bring full-time people on and get rid of them constantly, because it gives you a bad reputation in the, you know, from all of the employment side of things,
from your hiring pool.
So it's a commitment. Like, can I maintain this throughout the year, or can I be upfront and say, hey, this is a part-time seasonal job for you? You know, that's what I found out, not just through detailing, but through the last company that I used to manage.
Yeah, make sure you're paying yourself too in the beginning too, of like understanding. You know,
absolutely.
Because if you're just bringing on one more person to take on that additional work and you are not paying yourself, that tells you probably have a numbers problem that is your
pricing problem
too high, or your pricing is really screwed up and you really weren't making enough money anyways.
Absolutely. And remember that hiring does not translate to 2-to-1 revenue. So like, just because you bring someone on doesn't mean you double your revenue. It's never going to work out like that. The more you hire, the less that gets. So, all right. Billy Smith jumped in here. FYI, can anyone send me all the services they don't want to do? We will do any service because it leads to more services than you have a word of mouth that you didn't pay for. Yeah, amen to that. I mean, you know, there's a point, and we at our shop, we used to have a very same mindset of to give us everything. And then there were some things that we should have never done, you know, that we weren't efficient in and that we weren't profitable in. We spent too much time on blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I mean, we, you know, we try to do anything we can, you know, we offer any service we offer. Steve Robinson, what's the best way to get dealerships to bite? He corrected himself on ceramic coating jobs.
Tough.
Yeah, I mean, you know, building the relationship. Don't build a sale, build a relationship. And if it makes sense for their company to do business with your company, then that will happen. But focus on the relationship side of things. That's what we do. We do a lot of marine dealerships, boat dealers. We do a lot of their coatings, and we do some auto dealer coatings. But again, and when you get that business, it needs to be ironclad. You need to draw out exactly what you're going to provide and what they're expected to do, and don't leave room for gray area. We are very definitive about that.
Scope of work, like who's delivering the car? Am I responsible for interior, exterior, dressing? They want to know all that stuff. Like, you got to get it ironclad.
Spell it out,
and then absolutely, if it's not profitable today, it won't be profitable in a year of doing it.
That's right.
What I found out is some of your best friends are the salespeople. That if you become friends with them outside work, a lot of them just know, like, they have a reputation to uphold.
Dirty Mike and the boys going around doing things.
And they, as a salesperson, they have a reputation when they're selling phony coatings. Sometimes some of these dealerships, the salesmen know, like, hey, I'm selling this to a friend, like. Yes. And they know it's phony. So a lot of them will say, hey, go to Fast Lane Detailing and get this thing done. You know,
we work for a dealership that their reps send us they're not allowed to say it, and I can't say it either, but they send us their coatings, all of their coatings, because they don't want to send it to their shop.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People are always scared too of commissions too. It's like, if you give that guy $200 every time he sends someone to you, I know that eats into your profit. There's things you should do to upraise your price or whatever.
Right.
But that would actually be cheaper than hiring a sales guy on staff, $50,000 a year, because you're going to pay way more than $200 per job from a guy like that. So, you know, understand if you can show how great of a job you do and give him a commission, it's got to be win-win for a lot of people. I got a great service. I got paid. I got a customer, win, win, win. Always think of, like, am I creating a win for that person beyond just
absolutely. Yep. Sarah Wilkins, this is why we still do mobile hand washes. Absolutely. We do maintenance wash. And look, we cringe too. You know, you get $100 maintenance wash and it probably doesn't fit directly into that category, and you spend 2 hours on it versus what we need to be spending about 45 minutes on. Like, it hurts, you know, and we feel it, and we're like, oh man, we could be coating this car and make, you know, $2,000. You're right. But that car may not be there at that time. And we have to do the things that pay the bills. Mm-hmm. The other piece is hard to maintain 25% growth when you're doing much higher figures. That money that you need to grow becomes very high. Absolutely. Yep. Let's see. Tayton Trout, KPI and cash management is huge. Shout out to Dustin. Yeah, I worked with Tayton for 3 or 4 months. And we've worked with him for a long time, but specifically for about a 4-month stretch where we introduced cash management system and a KPI system in place, and he crushed it and killed it. And once you understand what to look at as entrepreneurs, we all think about the things we should be doing and the things that we know we need to do. And you have the paralysis by analysis. You end up not doing none of it. But if you can deduce it down to 6 or 7 numbers, if I track these numbers daily, I know that the things that I'm doing are performing because I'm seeing these numbers move. And if they start to change in a negative way, well, what did I stop doing, or what am I not doing, or what did stop working to change that? And that clears your mind a little bit. And now I don't have to think about what my business is doing right now. I can sit on this porch and have a meeting with you guys because I looked at my numbers this morning and I understand what's going on in my business. And it's all definitive by the numbers in place. You know,
Right.
so.
Ooh, I like this question.
All right, roast Sarah and Nick. Let's go. That's a freebie, Nick. Where you at, Nick?
Oh man, I was just.
How did that go? How did the competition go? The meme competition.
Oh, somebody won. I forget who they picked. He had a good meme going on.
There was some good ones. There was some that I cringed on.
Yeah.
All right, Jamie Solomon, is the detail as a whole experience and economy slowed down? Reason I asked, I can tell you, I can tell from last year. Is the detail as a whole experience economy? I think slowdown is not the right word for our business and what I've experienced. I think inconsistency is probably a good term, where you may have, it's kind of like a good week, bad week, good week, bad week, good week, bad week, and but the average trend is coming up a little. But like this economy shift and slowdown, even when we look at detail booking numbers as a whole, we don't see this major shift downturn. We, just some inconsistency in like the way in week after week, month after month.
I'd say even to Justin's point previously is like there's partial correction of available cash flow personally, that people are not as flamboyant with spending on luxury services, right?
Yes.
You think this industry is going through it, you should talk to pool table and hot tubs guys right now.
Yep.
And they're going to tell you the same people that had money 4 years ago are the same people today. They're just not as willing to let it go. But that can all change with habits and marketing and staying in front of them. You'd be surprised. But I think in general, there's some stagnation that has occurred and people are holding on to their money a little bit tighter. I'll just say this again, you can win a lot by just talking to people.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be surprised how many times people are like relying on automations or relying on this and that. You'd be surprised how many times just to reach out and talking to people can earn you quite a bit of business.
Oh, absolutely. I think Mike does that best too, that organic style, just building relationships, knowing the people, knowing, how to communicate to your customer base, where, and my dad's really good at that as well. I've leaned heavy on the tools to put in place just because that's who I am and that's where my background is. And, I value the relationship, but, that doesn't come natural to me, just that organic reach out. Mike knows all his customers, he knows who to call at the right time. Like he just knows that shit, So I think there's a world where both exist, All right, Tate and Trout. The biggest thing I've come to understand as an owner of a detail business, it's a luxury service, knowing that there are adjustments you need to make during the slow times. Absolutely. Spot on. And then Jonathan Bragdon agreed with me 100%. Not you guys.
Terrible.
Terrible. Terrible. Oh man, listen, great conversation, guys. We're a little bit over. We wanted to keep it to 30 minutes. But again, I really enjoyed this conversation. I think it's relative in a lot of people's worlds right now, and hopefully some of this helps. Again, like most of you guys, if you are in need of any of the services that we offer, reach out to us, or if you need just a conversation, or we all try to make ourselves somewhat available as possible to have those.
Yay, friendship.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to jump off here. Appreciate all the engagement and the comments. That was really cool. And we'll be back on probably next week for another topic. See ya.
Bye.
See you guys.